Hello everybody and welcome to Heavy Metal Part 1. First, Black Sabbath. They were known for being the founding fathers of heavy metal, and the success of their first two albums, Black Sabbath and Paranoid, marked this paradigm shift in the world of rock. With extreme volume and riff-based songs, dark lyrical themes, Sabbath embodied key elements of the heavy metal aesthetic. However, they said that they saw themselves as a heavy underground band. That term indicated both the intensity of their songs and the fans that discovered them before critics in the music industry had taken notice of them. Their story begins in Birmingham, England, 1969. Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Billy Ward were trying to get out of a life of factory work through their music. The four of them started out in such hallucinatory outfits as Mythology and The Rare Breed, and influenced by British rock and blues, they formed Earth Blues Company, which in 1968 was shortened to Earth. A lot changed for them when Geezer Butler, their bassist, came to them with a new idea for a song that was inspired by a disturbing appearance of a supernatural being. Geezer, being a fan of horror films and the black magic themed novels by Dennis Wheatley, had played around with the black arts for a short period of time in his life. However, when he saw what appeared to him as a figure from the dark side at the foot of his bed one night, he gave up with his toying with the goth world. Probably due to drug use, he hallucinated this, or it's also speculated that it was a dream. And with the lyrics written by Ozzy Osbourne, they decided to write a song about the visitation and named it Black Sabbath, after the 1963 Boris Karloff film, which provoked quite a reaction in audiences. And shortly after, they were forced to change the name because there was already another band named Earth, led them to the obvious choice of Black Sabbath. A direct quote from Tony Iommi: "That's when it all started to happen. The name sounded mysterious. It gave people something to think about, and it gave us a direction to follow." With Geezer as the principal lyricist and Tony Iommi as the musical architect, if you will, Black Sabbath wrote about themes such as social chaos, war, the afterlife, and the supernatural. The band was a product of the late 60s, which was a time when youthful idealism had begun to decay during the Vietnam War. The inflow of hard drugs, clashes with authority figures, and the bruising realities of the working class life that lay ahead for many of them. Their self-titled debut album was recorded in a single session in 1969. They got a nice clear sound due to a lack of certain equipment, which is kind of strange, during their recording, and the only other sound effects added were the tolling bell and the thunderstorm that gave off a chilling opening to the track Black Sabbath. They also took a similar approach to recording Paranoid, which was also cut within a few days and released in 1970, as well regarded as the quintessential Black Sabbath album containing the well-known tracks Iron Man, Paranoid, and War Pigs. Many of the great bands that came after them, like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, and Judas Priest, state that they were raised on Black Sabbath's music. Now, the response to their first two albums was instantaneous. Their debut reached number 8 in Britain, stood on the charts for 65 weeks. The same happened with Paranoid. Both albums were certified gold within a year of their release. And even when they had lineup changes, like when Ronnie James Dio was their vocalist for 3 albums, Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, and Headless Cross, they were highly regarded by their hardcore fans, but in the end, the classic lineup could not be bested. And there's a link in the description that's really interesting. It's about how Tony Iommi lost 2 of his fingers and he almost gave up playing the guitar, but his boss had come to him and inspired a solution for Tony to keep playing guitar. Highly recommend you watch it. Very interesting. Moving on to Iron Maiden, who got their name from the medieval torture device. Iron Maiden was part of England's late 1970s group of heavy metal bands that used simple guitar riffs, crushing chords, and high vocals. They formed in 1976 by bassist Steve Harris and guitarist Dave Murray. The band's early work was inspired by the punk do-it-yourself ethos, and the group released an EP called The Soundhouse Tapes on its own label, Rock Hard Records. Their debut album, Iron Maiden from 1980, was pure screaming heavy metal. It made it to the top 5 in Britain, and their next album, Killers, hit number 12 on the charts. Writing songs full of hellish imagery, ancient mythology, and many other similar themes, they were one of the few bands of any genre that at the time had a mascot. And also with their sound, they got rid of, well, I wouldn't say got rid of, but they didn't use much of the blues influence as Black Sabbath had or other earlier heavy metal bands, and went to straight heavy metal after their kind of heavy metal punk phase. Now, their mascot, he was a 10-foot tall rotting corpse named Eddie. And their album Number of the Beast, featuring the new vocalist Bruce Dickinson, made it to the top of the album chart in Britain, and despite not having had any MTV or radio exposure, the follow-up album, Peace of Mind, from '83, reached number 14 on Billboard's album chart. At this point, Iron Maiden were heavy metal superstars, and remained in the top 25 of Billboard's dominant album chart for several more releases. And after a few more lineup changes, Dickinson left in 1993, and was replaced by Blaze Bayley. And with the new band members, they still released a lot of albums, even though in the eyes of their fans, the albums were not as good as their earlier work. And in '99, Dickinson returned to the band along with Smith, who had also left prior to the time Dickinson had. Since then, the releases have been very successful, and their mascot even sparked the video game Ed Hunter. Alright, that's all for today. Heavy Metal Part 2 will be up soon by my associate Troll, featuring some other pretty cool bands, and I hope you're there to see it. Also, don't forget to check out the videos in the description. See you later. Ulfer out.
You people out there give us something more than just record sales. You give us something to hate, and we hate you